Hello, and welcome back to Traitors Expert. In this episode, I'm looking at Traitors Island, and I'm on to episodes 9 and 10 of Traitors Island. So we're getting close to the end of the series now. And as I've said before, this has been a really good series, but I will say that these two episodes were quite sad. I'd really got behind Pordy. I know there's potentially the idea that he might have thrown his son to the wolves, but I kind of feel like I say, if my dad was in the game and he didn't recruit me, I'd be offended, even if I was going to go out of the show. And if Andrew knew he was going to leave the show anyway, wouldn't you want to be made a traitor before you go, just so you've experienced everything? I don't know, I feel like he didn't betray his own son. And I liked Pordy, and I was actually rooting for him to win. So my main takeaway for these two episodes is, no, Pordy, no. I was gutted, absolutely gutted. Yeah, I was in a right sulk after I watched that episode where Pordy leaves. I really wanted to see him get all the way through to the final. Really, really disappointed. And now we're kind of left with the others. Yeah, I like Nick. I think Nick is interesting. He's a good team, well, not a team player. He's a good game player. He's quite strategic. Seems quite intelligent. Like I said, I've liked him. But there's also a weird thing where I never really feel like the recruited traitors are proper traitors. I don't know if anyone else gets this, but like, if they're not the original traitors, it doesn't really feel the same. Like, yeah. So, I don't know. At the same time, I'm not exactly rooting for the faithful either. So, I don't know what to do with myself now. I was really getting behind Pordy. I really wanted to see Pordy win. Especially because then he would probably share some of the money with his son, wouldn't he? Like, or his son would get some eventually down the line. It's just gutting, man. Gutting. But yeah, we're left with Nick, a recruited traitor. And he has now blackmailed a new traitor to join him, which is Ben, which felt kind of obvious. I think what might not be as obvious is Nick wanting to recruit Ben as someone he can trust, someone he can work with as a team, or is he recruiting Ben to get rid of him at some point down the line? Because Nick, like I say, does seem very strategic. He's definitely a game player. So is that what's in the back of his head? I'll get Ben and then maybe sacrifice him just before the final. Because you do kind of think, if the faithful don't get rid of a traitor before the final, they'll think to themselves, oh, there must be still like one traitor left. So if you kind of get rid of one right before the end, sacrifice one right before the final, it might then make them think, okay, we might have them all now. Because it might be too late to recruit someone else. I don't know, it's going to be interesting. But they do seem like a good team at the minute. So we'll see what happens. But gutting, Pordy, man. I said to Pordy, well, no, I didn't say to him directly, but I said whilst I was recording the last episode, like, I wouldn't have trusted Nick if I was you, Pordy. And that's exactly what happened. Like, pretty much, the next episode, Nick's then conspiring against him. Yeah, very sad. But we'll get on to that. There's quite a lot of big dramatic moments in these couple of episodes. There's been some quite sad eliminations and roundtables. So obviously the big theme of episode 9 was the funeral procession, which I immediately started to think, they're going to do that, aren't they? Because they've not done that yet. And pretty much every Traitor series tends to do like a funeral procession at some point. So when Siobhan came in and she was wearing her like black clothes, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they're doing it. So it was another slow acting death. In this case, it was the Traitors had placed a Irish curse on her. Was it a Pashog or Pashogi onto Christine? Although we didn't technically know that, but it felt like pretty obvious. Were we supposed to second guess it? I don't know what was meant to be happening there, but obviously because in the previous episode they showed Nick hugging Christine. Technically, Christine hugged Nick, so like she kind of did him a favour there. But yeah, we kind of knew it was going to be Christine, didn't we? But then they kind of spent the whole episode as if like we wouldn't know. So maybe they shouldn't have included that bit of Christine hugging Nick in the previous episode, because then it would have been more of a shock, and we might have thought, oh, they might have killed Faye, they might have killed, who else was there? Who else was in the final three? Oh, it was Ben, Faye, and Christine, wasn't it? So obviously we knew it wouldn't be Ben because he was a traitor. But we could have thought, oh, maybe they've killed Faye. That might have been a bit more interesting to watch as a viewer, thinking, oh, it could be Faye, it could be Christine. But yeah, Christine was murdered, and Faye got very emotional. Christine herself was crying. Faye almost had like a bit of a panic attack, which is like fair enough. Like, you've been like, potentially you're going to get locked in a small confined coffin, and if you're someone who's claustrophobic, like, that would be terrifying. Yeah, it was all very good, the funeral procession, and I liked the mourners were quite funny. But yeah, it's something we've seen so many times in Traitors. Like, I know this is a new series for Ireland, but it does feel like they have taken some missions and ideas from the UK one. So yeah, we did the funeral procession. We had the dolls mission in the previous one. That's been in the UK series. There's been quite a few things that have been kind of reworked. Even the mission in episode 10 is like a reworked mission from season 4 of the UK Traitors. Although technically this would have been filmed first. Which is another interesting thing, because the dagger comes up, the ceremonial dagger appears where you get your double vote. And that was in UK season 4 of Traitors. But that would have been filmed presumably after Ireland. So actually, technically Ireland did it first. Especially because this was broadcast, last autumn in Ireland. But yeah, had the funeral procession. It's all quite sad. Faye starts getting suspicion on her from the other girls that, she was getting too emotional, and was that because she was guilty about choosing Christine? And they seem close to Christine as well. So that starts getting suspicion on her, which is part of a trend that I've noticed in these episodes where the girls do seem to be like ganging up on each other a little bit. Like, it seems to be most of the girls will like sort of have a discussion together at one point during the day, and then they'll suspect one of the other women and then go for them at the round table. That does seem to be a bit of a pattern that's emerged, that the women are going for the women. And that bubbles up into what we see at the end of episode 10, which I'm sure we'll get to. But yeah, we come back from the funeral procession. We have the round table, and unfortunately, Ben starts coming for Pordy. Pordy's trying to defend himself, but like, some of the logic that's been coming at him from Owen, for example, has been kind of incredible. Owen has been like right about so much. And I've seen people in the comments have said that when this was getting broadcast, people started to refer to her as Oyen the Oracle, which is brilliant, because she has been exactly right so many times. Like, she's brought up so many exactly, completely right points about what was happening. Like Eamon, Caitlin, and Pordy all being traitors, and it was traitor on traitor on traitor, which is exactly right about. Yeah, she's been brilliant. She's been very, very, very perceptive. So unfortunately, this leads to Pordy getting 5 votes. And Nick was one of the people as well, kind of definitely helping him along. Definitely wasn't trying to defend Pordy. He wanted to get rid of him. So unfortunately, Pordy got 5 votes. Vanessa was in second place with 3 votes. Then Nick got 1 vote. I believe his first vote of the series. And Joanna got 1 vote. Yeah, so sad. So sad. I really want to see him win. So that left Nick as the only remaining traitor, and he was only recruited like 2 episodes ago. So like I say, it doesn't really feel like he's a proper traitor in a way. So it's like, oh, great. I mean, you've got to hand it to the Faithfuls. They've managed to eliminate all 3 of the original traitors by episode 9. Well done to them. They've done well. But the weird thing is, one of the reasons they did well was because of people like Nick and Ben. And then when Nick gets given the choice who he can blackmail, he chooses his best mate in the game, Ben. So maybe 2 of the strongest faithful. I would also include Owen in that. I think Owen's been very good. But 2 of the stronger faithful have been turned into traitors because they've got rid of all the original ones. So this, again, it proves that you're not... it doesn't really help you that much to eliminate the actual traitors early on, because all that will happen is other people will get recruited, and in this case, they've recruited some of the best faithfuls in the game. So, someone was suggesting what you should do instead is try and vote out the worst faithfuls, so that by the end of the game, you're left with the strongest faithfuls and the traitors that you most suspect, and then you might have a better shot of winning as a faithful, which is quite interesting. But it's quite, like I say, at one point during the series, Nick was kind of suggesting that when he was still a faithful, that like they should have kept Caitlyn in and voted out a faithful instead. And that just, it makes you come across very strange, saying, "Oh, like, yeah, let's vote out some faithfuls." But yeah, you don't want to get stuck with all the less strategic players at the end of the game. Like the less, I'm trying not to say intelligent, because I feel like that's a bit unfair, because some people can be very intelligent but not necessarily good at these kind of like mind games. But yeah, you don't want to be left with like the worst players at the end of the game in your team, and all the good players have been recruited into the other one. So maybe you need to try and keep traitors in, weirdly. But yeah, that's the whole problem with the show, isn't it? Yeah, so Ben is recruited and he's absolutely delighted. He's loving it. And the first murder they do is Amy. Again, this is like the point of the series we're getting to, where a lot of the faithful left are people that haven't had as much screen time, haven't been as like interesting characters. Like Amy seems very nice, but wasn't the most like memorable character on the show, so it wasn't particularly sad to see her leave. But yeah, that's the point we're getting to, because we're left with people, if we look at our dated list, we're left with people now like Wilkin, for example, Kelly to a certain degree, who are not the most interesting players. I would, Wilkin in particular, bless him, I feel bad for the guy. When they cut to him at the round table when he's doing his vote, he often says like 2 words. He'll say like, "Vanessa, sorry," and that's it. And maybe it's just a case of, is he just not very good on camera? He's a bit camera shy, I don't know, but he's not coming across brilliantly in the edit, so they might just be editing out a lot of his stuff. But I mean, yeah, bless him. I feel like you kind of forget he's there when you see him in the background of a shot. You're like, oh yeah, he's still on the game. And it's weird because he's got a little bit of suspicion, but not so much suspicion that people want to get rid of him. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't say anyone thinks he's like a definite faithful, so he's like playing a very strange game. But then like that's how you can survive often in this game. If you're a little bit dodgy, then you can survive for a while because the traitors want to keep you around. But at the same time, if you're not so faithful, the traitors aren't going to murder you because there's a chance you could go on the round table. So people like him, who have sort of coasted and not done an awful lot, not had a lot of suspicion either way, can make it to the final. Although he might not make it to the final, to be fair. But yeah, that was an interesting thing with the mission in this one, that they have to choose the players they trust the least and extinguish their flames, and you kind of got 3 lives to like play with. I'm pretty sure, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Nick and Ben, the new traitor, both of them didn't get any votes. So they're very well trusted and maybe well placed to carry on to the rest of for the rest of the game. I think Nick, the only thing that could happen is if they get to the end, they might start thinking, you two, or Nick especially, you've been leading a lot of the conversations, and is that because you're influencing people and you're doing that because you're a traitor? So that could blow back on them at some point. And they could start thinking, particularly Oyen, for example, might start thinking, oh, you've thrown your fellow traitors under the bus deliberately. Like, this has been traitor on traitor stuff. Like, you got rid of Pordy deliberately. Yeah, someone could start to suss this out. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But currently, I mean, like, yeah, by the votes for the least trusting player, both of them are doing pretty well. And again, like, it's a lot of the girls voting for the other girls. And Joanna gets voted the most. She gets voted the least trustworthy player. She gets given the power of the ceremonial dagger and a shield, which she can choose to give to either herself or someone else. I felt bad for her this episode. It did feel like people were ganging up on her. They ganged up on her on that mission. Obviously, they then gang up on her at the round table. And in some ways, it's like it feels really unfair because I don't even understand what's happened here. There's been a complete misunderstanding between all of the girls in the show where they're claiming a conversation's happened. They're claiming a conversation with Joanne has not happened, but I'm pretty sure it did, right? I think I remember that happening. Like, we could do with some flashbacks or something to like confirm what happened, but I think that conversation did happen, didn't it? Just not quite the way they thought it did. So now they think it didn't happen at all. And then someone like Oyen, I've been like praising her. I think she's been really good, faithful in this, very perceptive. But then she completely forgets something happened because Joanne says to her, "Oh, we were talking about voting for Faye, and we realised there's not enough votes, and then we kind of changed our minds at the round table." And Oyen's denying that conversation happened. But that definitely happened, that one. I remember that one because I remember thinking, oh, this is weird. Like, you don't normally see players like whispering to each other at the round table and saying like, "Oh, who are you going to vote for? Oh, I'm going to vote for this person. Oh, but we don't have enough votes. Don't do that. Vote for this person." You don't normally see that. So that definitely happened. But Oyen's just completely forgotten, which is like fair enough. Like, they're there for like days on end. The round table's kind of going for hours. You're going to forget stuff, but like it just feels really unfair on Joanne that like they've forgotten this happened when I'm pretty sure it did. Yeah, so then when you get to the round table, they all kind of gang up on her a little bit. Which, to be fair, like she said, it was all the girls, but the boys were too. Like Ben, I think. Oh, was it? No, it was Wilkin. Wilkin joined in on saying about Death Row that Joanna was one of the last people from Death Row to be in the game that survived. So it wasn't just the girls ganging up on her, but I do understand. Because obviously the elephant in the room we've not spoken about is that in Joanne's voted out. Even though she had the dagger, didn't help her. Joanne's voted out with 7 votes. Vanessa gets 2. So Joanne's voted out. Which leads to Joanne's exit speech where she seems genuinely upset, doesn't she? And she says, "The reason I'm emotional is because I feel like I've been like personally attacked. And you're all mean girls," she says to them. And she hopes the boys will win, which has some dramatic irony, considering 2 of the 3 remaining boys are traitors. Yeah, I think it's too far to call them mean girls. That seems a little bit harsh, considering this is just like a giant board game they're playing. That being said, I do believe she's somewhat justified in what she said. I think they have ganged up on her, and I think they have ganged up on certain other women in the game previously. There just seems to be a bit of like a... I don't know if it's just because it's who they're naturally closer to, but there does seem to be like a lot of the girls are kind of in alliances with each other, and they have turned on other women. Yeah, like Caitlyn, for example. They all kind of turned on Caitlyn quite aggressively. Yeah, which when you're on the receiving end of that probably does feel quite harsh, especially when you're close to them. Like, you're close to them in the game, you've bonded with them, and then suddenly you've seen them all kind of join together and go against you. And yeah, so in some ways I think her comments are slightly justified, but like I say, it's a bit too far considering this is just a board game. Like, I always just think if you're playing this game with your family and you stormed out the room and you said all of you are mean, like, you'd look a little silly. Yeah, that being said, I can see why she got emotional, and I think it did feel like in this episode in particular people did kind of pick on her a little bit. Yeah, there was one particular moment I thought was particularly bad where Kelly was mentioning how oh, I will vote for you, but thank you for the shield, and then you see Oyen laugh immediately after that. And I feel like that moment in particular felt a bit like that starts becoming... Because Joanna wasn't laughing. At least in the edit, Joanna isn't laughing. If Joanna wasn't laughing really in person, and that's what actually happened, and it's not just being manipulated in the edit, then it did feel they were laughing at Joanne rather than with Joanne. And I think that's where it starts to feel a little bit like, that's a bit harsh. Like we kind of spoke about in a previous episode that kind of Eamon was almost like bullying Pordy and I feel like this is verging on that a little bit as well. It's got a little bit nasty, and people maybe need to step back a little bit and make it a little bit less personal. But yeah, Kelly then gets upset about this afterwards, to be fair. I think maybe she feels a bit guilty, or, you know, because she was kind of close to Joanne, so she feels a bit guilty about it. But yeah, Joanne leaves, which means that when you look at the total combined votes for everyone, Wilkin is now at 9 votes across the series. He's in top place, so he's still the most suspicious. Vanessa is then in second place with 6 votes. She's like slowly building up. I think she'll probably leave before the final, Vanessa. Oyen is on 2. Christine's on 1. Linda's on 1. Linda? I don't know where I've got that from. Linda? Why have I written Linda down? Okay, I don't know what's happened there. Kelly's on 1. Oh, Linda from ages ago. Right. Yeah, okay. I've somehow left her in the list. I've completely forgotten who Linda even was. Kelly is on 1, and Nick. Kelly, what have I got? Oh yeah, Kelly's got... Nick is on 1 with his first vote. Interesting, that means that Ben has 0 votes, even though he's now a traitor. And Faye, I believe, has 0 votes. So they've been doing well. I did wonder if Nick was going to recruit someone like Faye instead of Ben. If like Ben was a bit too obvious, and he might choose someone like Faye. Because in a way, he's already got Ben on side anyway. So like, would you not want to then try and convert someone else into a fellow ally? But that's under the assumption that when you recruit, someone sees it as like you're joining a team rather than like, oh, you've brought me into the fold now and I can get rid of you as a traitor, which is exactly what Nick did to Pordy. Yeah, but I did just wonder if he might recruit someone like Faye instead. But yeah, he went with his best mate, which is fair enough, because you'd hope you could trust him. But I feel like Ben actually might not be able to trust Nick, so we'll see what happens. But this means that we previously had 24 players at the beginning of the series. We now only have 7. We're down to the final 7, and we only have 2 episodes to go, isn't it? It's only 2 after this. Episode 11 and episode 12. Yeah. So it's heating up. Like I say, it's still fun. It's still enjoyable to watch. But I really wish we'd still had Pordy in, and I would have been rooting for Pordy to win. I think I'll probably still be rooting for Nick at this point to win out of everyone. I think I found Nick quite admirable as a player. I think he's played it very well. He was good as a faithful, and he's being good as a traitor. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think people like Vanessa are in trouble. Wilkin's definitely in trouble. Kelly, I could see getting murdered. Oyen, you probably would have murdered Oyen actually, wouldn't you? Because she has been very good. So we're probably looking at a final where it's probably going to be Faye, Ben, Nick. Faye, Ben, Nick. Maybe they would keep someone like Kelly or Wilkin because they feel like they can manipulate them. So maybe Kelly or maybe even both of them. And then maybe you get rid of Vanessa and Oyen. Maybe Oyen gets murdered in the next episode and Vanessa is voted out at the round table. That feels possible. Right. But we will see what happens. Currently they're trying to choose between... The traitors are trying to choose between Oyen, Vanessa and Will. So, maybe Oyen, yeah. Oyen to be murdered, Vanessa to be voted out, and then that'll be our final 5. Exciting. Yeah. I love that everyone's been commenting and watching these videos on the Irish Traitors. I didn't know how well they do. They've not obviously done as well as the UK series, but it's been really fun. I hope this does grow over time because this series has been really good. And I've been recommending it to people I know because it's that good. So hopefully this just grows and grows and more people watch it on iPlayer. And then we've got another brilliant show to watch, Irish Traitors, every year. So let's see what happens. But yeah, looking forward to the final 2 episodes. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.